Good evening, my friends. Welcome to Hilbert's Laboratory, the Ghost Story Room. The Harbin cat-faced old lady incident in 1995. Harbin is a city in northeastern Asia, very close to Russia. It is greatly influenced by Western religions such as Orthodox Christianity, and has most European-style buildings such as Harbin's St. Sophia Church. It is known as the Little Paris of the East and the Moscow of the East. But it was in this prosperous and well-known ice city that famous and strange events that shocked the world occurred. The case of the cat-faced old lady once triggered huge social panic in the three northeastern provinces of China. Today's people born in the 1980s and 1990s remember this deeply. There are several versions of the cat-faced old lady. This terrifying legend has become a childhood shadow for many people in the Northeast. It was a terrifying experience in the hearts of many people. The incident of the cat-faced old lady in Harbin in 1995 is that an old lady in Harbin died on the road while buying groceries and a cat happened to be walking by. The old lady suddenly sat up. Her body did not change, but half of her face changed. Cat's face. People say that when a person dies, if an animal passes by, the body can be revived. The story of the cat-faced old lady's corpse fraud has since spread among the people. The legendary cat-faced old lady is usually nocturnal, agile and powerful, and likes to eat children's flesh and drink their blood. During that time, people kept claiming to have witnessed the cat-faced old lady. The legend quickly spread and soon spread to the entire three northeastern provinces. At that time, even CCTV Focus interview also reported on the cat-faced old lady incident. So is the cat-faced old lady real or fake? Let me now take you through the process and the truth behind the incident of the cat-faced old lady in Harbin in 1995 by recounting the experience of the person involved. Everything below is told in the first person. The Harbin cat-faced old lady incident probably happened between 1995 and 1996. I can't remember the exact time. At that time, a child who was in the 5th grade of primary school was also one of the victims and witnesses of the Harbin cat-faced old lady incident. 1. There are many versions about the cat-faced old lady, and there are also several versions about the cause of the cat-faced old lady's death. Some people say that the cat-faced old lady died suddenly on her way home from shopping for groceries. Another theory is that the cat-faced old lady's family lives in a small village in the north of Heilongjiang. The family lives a very ordinary life, but her son and daughter-in-law are not very good to her, but life is always bumpy. Inevitably, the old man and his daughter-in-law got into a fight over a trivial matter, and the old man became so angry that he hanged himself at night. After the old man was angry to death from his daughter-in-law, his family planned to leave him alone overnight and bury him tomorrow. At that time, the old man's death state was very terrifying. His eyes were half opened, his tongue was hanging out of his mouth, and he was a little black. His face was hideous. At that time, people did not dare to come forward. Strange to say, the old man's son came over and cried. He knelt in front of the old man, and everyone dared to get the old lady off. This was what the old man in the village asked him to do. Those who died unjustly must be punished. He had to keep his closest relatives by his side before he could be buried in the coffin, but that still didn't stop the old man from pretending to be dead in the middle of the night. After putting on the shroud for the old man in the evening, the daughter-in-law was also very sad and went back to her parents' home. The old man's son felt sorry for his mother, so he paid filial piety to the old man at night. Winter nights in Heilongjiang are very long. The old man's son sat with a neighbor and talked. The neighbor said that the speaker fell asleep. At this time, a tabby cat raised by the old man jumped over the old man's body and stopped motionless after landing. The old man suddenly sat up, with half a human face and half a cat face, turning into an old lady with a cat face. The old man's son was frightened on the spot. After the old man picked up the body, he arrested his neighbor to death. Her son took advantage of this time to run away, shouting, "My mother faked the corpse." In the countryside, people go to bed early, and it is even quieter at night. It's strange to say that it's strange. If someone barks so loudly in the middle of the night, the dog will definitely bark too. But tonight, I didn't hear the dog barking. I could only hear the dog grunting. My son was also scared crazy. He walked along the road, rushed to a person's house in the village. After spending a night at that house, the family was very scared at night and did not dare to sleep. They were afraid that the old man would come looking for their son, so they led the dog into the house. After dawn, I called a group of people back to my son's house and found that only my neighbor's stomach had been scratched open, and the old man was missing. Later, the village felt very dark, and animals were always missing. Later, several children were also missing, which made people's hearts sad. In panic, adults tell their children not to run around if nothing happens. If they really encounter that thing, just run around a corner. Anyway, just run around something. It is said that zombies cannot turn. Apart from the cat-faced old lady, there is another explanation for the disappearance of the child at that time. At that time, a criminal gang pretended to be a corpse, caught the children and sold their human organs. The remaining meat and other things were used to support the elderly. Later, the government came out to refute the rumors, the news spread quickly, and everything was said. I was still young at that time, which caused a shadow in my heart. If you have time, you can ask your classmates in Heilongjiang to see if they have heard of it. This is almost what happened. When I was a child, when adults talked about these things, I secretly listened to them. I don't remember much, but that's it. There are many unknown things in this world, and because of the unknown, I feel scared. This happened more than 10 years ago. At that time, people were panicked and rumors were spreading, which had seriously affected social order. Many primary and secondary schools have held school-wide meetings specifically for this purpose. The principals warned students not to travel alone, and all students in the school must wear red ropes. At that time, it was believed that tying a red string around the wrist could ward off evil spirits. The police stepped up patrols and went to schools to refute the rumors. A TV station even broadcast the incident, but later apologized to the public. Finally, the rumor spread to such a frightening level that children throughout the 3 northeastern provinces began to panic. And some even dared not go to school at all for fear of being eaten on the road. The ending of this rumor was also dramatic. The incident of the cat-faced old lady alarmed the central government, so the army was dispatched. The cat-faced old lady was shot in the back of the head with a machine gun by the Special Forces soldiers and burned to death with a flamethrower. It is said that when he died, a cat came out of the belly of the burning corpse. Although the legend about the cat-faced old lady sounds false, it is not groundless because it has spread so widely. At the same time, we also found the cat-faced old lady who witnessed the situation orally described the situation at that time. The original poster was born in 1984 and was in elementary school at the time. The most popular thing on TV at that time was the Focus interview at around 8 o'clock. Because it was summer, the original poster was usually outside having fun. When I went to school the next day, I heard everyone going viral, saying yesterday, the scene in Focus interview was very scary. It was about a cat person. Many people, including adults, said that the scene in Focus interview was real. They even let it go. They said it was a female cat person who specializes in feeding children. It's from Harbin. My family is Qiqihar. At that time, I didn't know how far Harbin was from Qiqihar, and no one in my parents told me about it. If I knew it, it was only a 2-hour drive away. I was really scared to death. At that time, I thought it was from out of town and had nothing to do with me. I was still very curious and thought about going home from school the next day to watch the replay. Since it was replayed at 8 o'clock in the morning, I didn't watch it, which was a pity. After growing up, the poster started a business and made a lot of money. It can be said that the poster's biggest hobby in life, women, was tired of it. It's not interesting, I just wanted to have something exciting, so I thought of this and started investigating again. What I said below is all true. Even I can't believe the results of my investigation. I'm writing it down now. I don't know tomorrow. Is there still life left to write a continuation? What I said is true. I hope everyone will not be like me in the future, doing stupid things when they have enough money and are full. What happened was this. At that time, everyone still lived in an old-fashioned 3-story red building built with Soviet aid in the 1950s. The 3 families shared a kitchen and corridor. Each family had a corridor door, and the door inside the house was also symbolized by an iron general. Lock it, but slowly, Social Security has changed. And the kitchen utensils that used to be placed in the kitchen and the leather shoes placed at the door began to be stolen. Among them was a textile factory. There were relatively frequent thefts in the block where the female worker lived. Later, everyone suspected that Zhang Laosan, a resident of a certain building, was responsible because some people reported that he often wandered around in the corridors without having anything to do, and even took advantage of the fact that other people's doors were unlocked, and went in and out of other people's homes for no reason, often sticking his head through the crack of the unlocked corridor door to see if anyone was in other people's homes. Everyone suspected that he was the thief who stole the house. One day, a child went out to the corridor to go to the toilet at home, and suddenly found a head sticking out of the crack in the door of the corridor. The child had heard about this before, and thought it was Zhang Laosan who had come to the door because it was too dark at the time. I couldn't see anything, so I turned on the light. I was shocked when I saw that it was not Zhang Laosan, but an old lady with a messy head of light yellow and slightly reddish hair, and her facial features were crowded. They were together, but there were no wrinkles. There was a piece of yellow-faced steamed bun picked up somewhere in his mouth. When the child got scared, he called out, "Mom," and the old lady shrank and ran away. Then his parents came out and looked for her again. I couldn't find it, so I thought it was the old lady who was taking pictures of flowers. So I mobilized the whole neighborhood to look for her, but I couldn't find her. In fact, it's just an old lady leaning against the door. Maybe she's just a beggar, it's nothing special. There was no loss to anyone, and no harm was done. It was originally an anecdote that was quickly settled down, but somehow, the old lady's story became more and more evil, and later it became widely believed to be the most terrifying version. Yes, at that time, Zhang Laosan was sick and hospitalized, and everyone went crazy and said that one day Zhang Laosan went to steal something. He was peeking in the corridor door when he suddenly felt something was wrong behind him, so he turned around and looked almost frightened. He saw an old lady who seemed to be imitating him, picking at the cracks in the corridor door of the house behind him. But what was different from him was that she rushed forward with her face and stuffed her head into the corridor of the house. The old lady entered the house with the back of her head tilted forward, just like a person who was forced into the crack of the door, and her neck was stuck. Zhang Laosan was confused and cleverly got back home. As a result, he got seriously ill and was admitted to the hospital. Later, someone else said that one evening when she went home and carried her bicycle up the stairs, she always felt someone pulling her from the back seat of the car. She thought she had encountered a gangster, so she screamed at the top of her lungs. After a while, her father and brother came out. So they went around looking for the gangsters. When they passed by a garbage dump, they saw an old lady wearing a torn cotton-padded jacket wrapped in a sack. She had no head and was still moving. They were frightened at first, but later they took advantage of the large number of people. I ran over to take a look. It turned out that the old lady just had her head stuck in the collar of her coat. She picked up whatever she saw there and ate it. When everyone saw that she was a stinky beggar, they ignored her and walked back. The old man suddenly felt something was wrong, because there was a state-owned store near the garbage dump. Broken glass was always dumped there every day. So what was the old lady eating there? But he didn't dare to look back and left quickly. There is also the famous Catman legend in Harbin. It happened more than 10 years ago, when I was in elementary school, about 1995. Because it was rumored to be Loxihu at that time, it was very scary at the time, so I remember it very clearly. It was said to be in the Dawai district of Harbin. I remember it was an old lady from Dawai. She died on the road when she was going home from shopping for groceries, and was jumped by a cat. She pretended to be dead at that time. Her body remained unchanged, but half of her face changed into that of a cat. This is what was said at the time. This catman usually moves at night, has great agility and strength, and likes to eat the flesh of children. However, when adults are bitten, they will also turn into catmen. At that time, it was widely rumored that there was already a catman in Harbin. A lot of cat people. The elementary school students at that time must have heard of this, because the district where my home is located is far away from Dawai district, and it was also spread. There was an article refuting the rumors in a small magazine distributed to elementary school students every month when I was in elementary school. That's all I remember. Well, now that I think about it, I don't think it's very true, but I don't understand why it was spread so widely at the time, if there are students in Harbin who know more details. You might as well tell me, this is already a thing of the past. If it is not recorded in official history, this incident will be passed down as a joke. But if you say it is a joke, many people may not be able to laugh, because this incident was a terrifying experience in many people's minds.